let's go now to the Qantas issue. A big focus of the coalition in Question Time today. The government's unjustifiable decision to bar Qatar Airways from launching more flights to Sydney, and the allegedly cushy relationship the PM has with former Qantas CEO Alan Joyce. Joining me now, one of the coalition's strongest people in this area, Senator the Honourable Bridget McKenzie, who is the Shadow Minister for Infrastructure, Transport and Regional Development, of course, Leader of the Nationals in the Senate. Senator, welcome. He was under fire in Question Time today. I watched it, and his Transport Minister, Catherine King, both at the dispatch box, unconvincing in my view. They've offered a whole lot of excuses. I don't think any of them passed the pub test. Why do you think they made this call?
Yeah, it's great to be back with you, Peter. It is just incredible. Today, again, we've seen minister after minister refuse to give simple answers to simple questions. Who knew what when? Prime Minister gave the 10th reason for this decision by Transport Minister King, and that was that it was not an actual decision because the status quo remains, which is just beggars belief. I mean, this is a decision that academics are saying has cost our economy $1 billion. Australians have higher air prices as a result of it and less choice of destination. And the tourism industry you saw come out a couple of weeks ago saying it cost them in excess of $780 million. And no one is taking responsibility for it. I was asking the Foreign Minister, Wong, in the Senate today what she knew. Was she consulted? She actually admitted she was, but couldn't provide a date on that or whether she'd actually done her job and informing the Qatari ambassador as a result. So everywhere you turn with this Labor government, that cushy personal relationship between the Prime Minister and Mr Joyce and the political relationship between Qantas as the yes flag bearer for this government, I think is causing them a whole lot of pain.
I think you're right to point to that yes campaign relationship, very close relationship. It's interesting, when he was asked about it in Question Time today, the Prime Minister was asked, have you had conversations with Alan Joyce at the Lodge, at Kirribilli House or on your private plane? And he only addressed the first two destinations in his response. You've instigated a Senate inquiry into all of this. What do you hope is going to come out transparently that Australians can now have a close look at?
Yeah, absolutely, Peter. We were really successful, thanks to the crossbench, in setting up a select committee inquiry into this specific issue, and we're open for submissions right now. We'll be having public hearings in the last couple of weeks of September, and we're going to be calling CEOs, boards, academics, economists and others, including the Qatari ambassador, to actually come and explain to us the implications of this decision, and we want to make really strong recommendations. I mean, I think Wayne Swan, the former Treasurer, is on the money. The government needs to review this decision. They are unable to provide us with a reason why. And you and I go back a while in politics, and over this last couple of weeks I've been talking to transport ministers of the last 20 years who've been in similar positions, and they've said that Qantas as a company was incredibly muscular with whoever had to be the transport minister of the day when these sort of decisions came up. So it beggars belief, it defies reality, it defies previous behaviour that Qantas similarly didn't do the same thing when it came to this decision to protect their market share of the Australian aviation industry.
Well, you might remember when Tony Abbott was PM, I think they wanted a couple of $1 billion to bail them out of a hole. And I think my former boss said, I'm not running after corporates with a blank cheque from the Australian taxpayer. But you're right, they are muscular when they're after something. When do you think we're going to get a result from this Senate inquiry?
Yeah, Peter, well, we'll be reporting back to the Senate on the 9th of October, and we want to make those recommendations really usable by the government in a post-COVID environment. We want to be looking at competition within the international and domestic aviation industry, and this decision specifically. Just about 40 minutes ago, Treasurer Chalmers actually presented documents to the Senate that he had in his possession around this decision. Now, you'd think, given the impact it's had on our economy, on freight, on jobs, on the profitability of Qantas, on any measure, that Catherine King would have consulted Jim Chalmers, the Treasurer, on the impact of her decision on competition and the like. Turns out he wasn't briefed, he wasn't consulted, which I just find incredible and goes to the dysfunction of the government on this particular issue. But we're going to go to the experts and hopefully deliver some really practical and usable recommendations to make, our aviation sector more affordable, more reliable for all Australians.
Bridget McKenzie, thank you.